Celtic mythology is a set of beliefs, legends, and traditions that originated in the ancient cultures of Ireland, Scotland, Wales, Brittany, and other Western European territories. The Celts were a warrior people, lovers of nature and poetry, who venerated a great variety of gods and goddesses, each with their attributes and functions. Among them was Morrigan, the goddess of death and destruction, but also of love and sexual desire. Morrigan was one of the most powerful and feared deities of the Celtic pantheon. Her name means Great Queen or Spectral Queen, and she was considered the ruler of war, destiny, and magic. She was usually depicted in armor and weapons and was present in all wars, taking the form of a raven or crow. Morrigan could influence the course of battles, granting victory or defeat, life or death to the combatants. She could also prophesy the future and manipulate the fate of mortals. But Morrigan was not only a bloodthirsty and cruel goddess. She was also a goddess of love and sexual desire who could seduce and romance any man who crossed her path. Morrigan had a great sexual appetite, and it did not matter to her whether her lover was married or single, friend or foe, human or divine. Morrigan could transform into any form she pleased, from a beautiful woman to a cow, a she-wolf, or a snake. Morrigan was a goddess of duality, embodying both life and death, light and darkness, love and hate. Morrigan was a deity that foreshadowed death but also victory in battle. As a manifestation of the goddess of earth and sovereignty, she protected territories and their peoples. She was often seen in stories as a triad, along with her sisters Bab and Macha, and sometimes Nemain, although their inclusion is uncertain. Bab, whose name means raven, was a war goddess who was associated with death and chaos on the battlefield. She was said to be able to predict the death of warriors and was often depicted as a raven, a harbinger of doom to come. Macha, known for her supernatural speed and strength, was linked to the sovereignty of the land and the protection of her people. Her name was associated with horses, and it was believed that she could run faster than the fastest of these animals. Macha also embodied fertility and abundance. Nemain, although her inclusion in the triad is less clear, was a goddess of war and frenzy, capable of instilling terror and confusion among enemies. Her name was associated with the panic and madness she could unleash in the hearts of adversaries. Together, these three deities formed a formidable force in Celtic mythology. This triad was seen as a single deity with multiple aspects, and together, the three Morrigan were the sisters of the earth goddesses, Eriu, Banba, and Fadla. The Morrigan, in her role as guardian, not only incited warriors to brave deeds, but also instilled fear in her enemies. She was depicted washing the bloody clothes of those destined to die, an omen of their inevitable fate. Morrigan, the Lady of Darkness, stands as an enigmatic and powerful figure. Her domain extends beyond the boundaries of war and destiny into the realm of prophecy and magic. As one of the most complex and multifaceted deities, Morrigan possessed the ability to transform into a raven, an animal that in Celtic culture represented death and prophecy. In this form, Morrigan flew over the battlefields, observing and manipulating the course of war with her ominous presence. It was said that Morrigan could foretell the death of warriors, appearing before them to announce their fate. This ability to foreshadow the future made her both a feared and revered figure, as her appearance could signify both divine protection and the announcement of certain death. In addition to her connection to war, Morrigan was also linked to the earth and its cycles. As a manifestation of the goddess of earth and sovereignty, Morrigan represented the protection of the land and its inhabitants. The Lady of Darkness was also known for her role in the cycle of life and death. Through her transformations and prophecies, Morrigan embodied the cyclical nature of existence, where death gave way to life, and life, in turn, led to death. One of the most famous and admired Celtic heroes was Cuchulain, the champion of Ireland. Cuchulain was the son of Lugh, the god of the sun and arts, and Dectyre, the sister of King Conchobar. Cuchulain was an exceptional warrior, possessing superhuman strength and great skill with weapons. He was the defender of Ulster, one of the provinces of Ireland, and the leader of the Red Knights, an elite group of warriors. Cuchulain had many exploits and adventures, which made him a legend. Morrigan was attracted to Cuchulain from the first moment she saw him. She wanted to seduce him and make him her lover, but Cuchulain resisted her charms. Cuchulain was the only one Morrigan considered worthy of her love. However, this love was unrequited, as Cuchulain constantly rejected the goddess, even when she appeared in various forms, from a young maiden to a raven, seeking to seduce him and win his affection. He was in love with Emer, Forgal's daughter, and did not want to be unfaithful. Moreover, Cuchulain did not trust Morrigan and considered her a dangerous and treacherous goddess. Morrigan was angered by Cuchulain's rejection and vowed to take revenge on him. Thus began a relationship of love and hate, of passion and violence between Morrigan and Cuchulain, which would mark their destinies. Morrigan tried to help Cuchulain on some occasions, but he despised and defied her. Morrigan transformed herself into different forms to approach him, as a young maiden, an old woman, a cow, a wolf, an eel, and a crow. But Cuchulain always recognized and rejected her. Morrigan took revenge on Cuchulain by sending her obstacles and enemies, such as a raging river, a pack of wolves, a witch, a giant, and a warrior. But Cuchulain always defeated them with her courage and strength. Morrigan and Cuchulain clashed on several occasions, both on the battlefield and in the riverbed. Morrigan prophesied to Cuchulain his death and tried to prevent it, but also contributed to it. Cuchulain died in combat, tied to a stone so as not to fall, and Morrigan transformed into a raven and wept over his body. Morrigan and Cuchulain lived a story of love and hate, of passion and violence, which remained engraved in the memory of the Celts. Morrigan, the great queen of Celtic mythology, was adored and feared in equal measure. Her cult was shrouded in mystery and reverence, and her followers performed various rituals to honor her and appease her power. Rituals to Morrigan often took place in sacred places, such as forests, rivers, and hills, where the line between the mortal world and the realm of the gods was believed to be thinnest. The Celts celebrated festivals throughout the year that were closely linked to the agricultural cycle and the seasons. Morrigan, as the goddess of life and death, played a crucial role in these celebrations. Samhain, for example, marked the end of the harvest and the beginning of winter. It was a time when Morrigan was invoked to protect the people during the dark months ahead and to foretell the events of the coming year. Rituals included offerings of food, drink, and valuable objects that were deposited on altars or thrown into sacred waters as a form of sacrifice. Druids, priests of the Celtic religion, recited incantations and sang hymns in her honor, asking for her favor in war and daily life. Morrigan was also invoked in fertility rituals and by those who sought her guidance in matters of love and desire. The worship of Morrigan was not limited to times of need or during festivities. The Celtic warriors invoked her before going into battle, seeking her strength and ferocity to defeat their enemies. It was said that Morrigan could grant soldiers the violence, strength, and anger needed to triumph. Her presence was an omen of victory, and her absence was a harbinger of defeat. Death is an omnipresent theme in Celtic mythology, and the figure of Morrigan is intrinsically linked to it. As the goddess of death and destruction, Morrigan represents not only the end of life, but also the promise of renewal and rebirth. Cuchulain, the brave warrior, faces his ultimate fate on the battlefield. Despite his strength and skill, the prophecy of his death is fulfilled, and he finds himself alone and mortally wounded. In this moment of vulnerability, Morrigan reveals herself not as an enemy, but as a guardian who accompanies Cuchulain in his final moments. Morrigan transforms into a raven and perches on Cuchulain's shoulder, offering him comfort and companionship as he accepts his fate. The goddess, in her raven form, symbolizes the transition between life and death, and Morrigan's presence ensures that Cuchulain's spirit will be honored and remembered. The goddess Morrigan has an impact on many people's lives on a personal level. Some believe she can help them connect with their wild side and personal power. Others see her as a guide and protector in difficult times. the goddess Morrigan can also be a source of inspiration for those seeking creativity and transformation. Ultimately, the goddess Morrigan is a powerful and multifaceted figure that continues to resonate in today's world. This video has been created for Mythology. Thank you for joining us on this journey through time.